This video tutorial is about movement of water through plants. The cellulose cell walls of a plant are fully permeable to water. Water molecules can move freely between the cellulose molecules or even in gaps between the cells. Water can also pass across the cell wall and through the partially permeable plasma membrane into the cell cytoplasm, or even into the vacuole. Many plant cells are joined by special cytoplasmic bridges. These are cell junctions at which the cytoplasm of one cell is connected to that of another through a gap in the cell walls. These junctions are known as plasmodesmata. This diagram here shows that there are three possible pathways taken by water through a plant. So A is showing the apoplast pathway, B is showing the sympath pathway, and C, the vacuolar pathway. So first of all, we're going to look at the apoplast pathway. Water passes through the spaces in the cell walls and between the cells. It does not pass through any plasma membranes into the cells. This means that the water moves by mass flow rather than by osmosis. Also, dissolved mineral ions and salts can be carried with the water. Secondly, the sympath pathway. Here, water enters the cell cytoplasm through the plasma membrane. It can then pass through the plasmodesmata from one cell to the next. And finally, the vacuolar pathway. This is similar to the sympath pathway, but the water is not confined to the cytoplasm of the cells. It's able to enter and pass through the vacuoles as well. We're now going to look at the movement from cell to cell. First of all, looking at water potential. Water potential is a measure of the tendency of water molecules to move from one place to another. Water always moves from a region of high water potential to a region of low water potential. The water potential of pure water is 0. In a plant cell, the cytoplasm contains mineral ions and sugars, which are called solutes, that will reduce the water potential. This is because there are fewer free water molecules available than in pure water. As a result, the water potential in plant cells is always negative. We're now going to look at water uptake and then water loss. If you place a plant cell in pure water, it will take up water by osmosis. This is because the water potential in the cell is more negative than the water potential of the water. Water molecules will move down the water potential gradient into the cell, but the cell will not continue to absorb water until it bursts. This is because the cell has a strong cellulose cell wall. Once the cell is full of water, it's described as being turgid. The water inside the cell starts to exert pressure on the cell wall, called the pressure potential. As the pressure potential builds up, it reduces the influx of water. Secondly, we're going to focus on water loss. If a plant cell is placed in a salt solution with a very negative water potential, then it will lose water by osmosis. This is because the water potential of the cell is less negative, or is higher, than the water potential of the solution. So water moves down the water potential gradient out of the cell. As water loss continues, the cytoplasm and vacuole shrink. Eventually, the cytoplasm no longer pushes against the cell wall and the cell is no longer turgid. If water continues to leave the cell, then the plasma membrane will lose contact with the wall, a condition known as plasmolysis. The tissue is now flaccid. Finally, we're going to look at movement of water between cells. When plant cells are touching each other, water molecules can pass from one cell to another. The water molecules will move from the cell with a less negative or higher water potential to the cell with a more negative or lower water potential. This is osmosis.